Thank you for coming out on a Wednesday night and believing the Lord to touch us tonight. Amen. Go to the Lord in prayer tonight. Remember the Bishop family in our prayers. Brother Joe Bishop passed away this morning. Don't know any more than that. Just pray for the family. It's going through a difficult time right now. And also remember those ones that lost loved ones in the church. Bubba and Sister Debbie and Ursula and that family goes. Lost, it's one thing to lose one mother, but when you lose both in a matter of 24 hours, and they're dealing with that right now, so pray for them. Everybody else who's lost loved ones, people who's dealing with still with the COVID stuff, continue to pray for them. Continue to pray for every need on our prayer list tonight. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to make known?
We need to keep Ronnie and Kay on prayer. He's got a tumor on his pituitary gland, and he can some days it's just so bad he has to crawl around in the floor. He can't walk, and they're saying no, it hasn't grown. We're not going to take it off, and then they're sending back to an internal ear doctor, and they're saying, well, we don't think it's anything we can do. And the guy with the tumor thing said, well, about a year, maybe it's grown, and we can take it off. And then in May, they're going to test him for dementia and Alzheimer's. So we need to break the case. It ain't right for me to live for a year and have to fall around the floor.
No.
Yeah. And my son-in-law, one of the smartest men in the world, because he graduated from Alabama. If you don't believe it, ask him. Just have a little conversation with him. But I like him. He's got some discs and stuff in his neck. He's a big boy. You met him, Bob.
Yes, sir.
And he went to have an MRI. And my family just can't have regular stuff that goes wrong with him. Okay, it's like, okay, you got a bad disc, you go to have an MRI and do surgery. When he laid down on the table, he went numb from his neck down. So they're thinking maybe it's had some spurs or something, that the way he had to lay on that hard table for the MRI. But he's still having trouble with it. So they found an MRI machine in his home state of Birmingham, where the smartest people in the world live, that you can sit down and sit upright and have an MRI. So him and Jennifer's going to be going down there Thursday night and Friday. So we need to pray for some kind of outcome, a good outcome on that. He may have to have surgery, but they definitely like to know what's going on. And right now, it looks like my kidneys are trying to fail. And I don't know. It's not one thing, it's two. One blind in my right eye, my kidneys are failing, and I'm trying to do better. And it seems like the better I'm trying to do, the worse I get.
Yeah. Well, they'll tell you if you do all this stuff, it'll make your blood pressure go better. And
My blood pressure got so good today. I had another one of those bad stroke things, and I checked it, and it was 124/58. That's a little too good.
yeah.
And I ain't took my blood pressure medicine in 3 or 4 days. I was making my legs swell. I'm running some self-tests. There's something about it in that old people stage. You don't mind running tests on yourself. That doctor don't know what he's talking about. My body, he's just giving me all these pills. I didn't have this problem until he started giving them to me. But anyway, everything will be all right. I know it will.
Well, you hear all this stuff, and it's hard to trust a doctor. I try. I've got one doctor I trust, and he's a heart doctor. And I told him last time I went to see him, but I wish you treated everything, because you're the only one I trust. And out of all the doctors Mama's got, he's probably been the one that, Cindy will tell you, he's been the one that helped her the most on everything, I think, because he watches her medicine. And she's got a primary care doctor, and I offended him real bad one day because he wanted to go in there and mess with Mama's medicine. And I told him, but you ain't touching her medicine unless you ask Dr. Salazar. Well, he's her heart doctor. I said, no, he's her doctor. You check with him, then you change. If he says don't get it changed, you change it. But
Yeah, I think that's something wrong with that for everybody. All of us driving me something today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of them get together and talk.
And if you go,
I got together with Atlanta, I said, we fixing to go to Virginia, and we're gonna have a talk about all the stuff that's going on, this medicine, and have a look at it, and something, you know.
if you go to 3 different ones on the 3 different days, they'll tell you 3 different things. And what one tells you can go against what the other one does. But ain't you glad we know Jesus? And Jesus is the great physician. I think that's what the word said. He, not only is he a physician, but he's a great physician. He made this complex body of ours, and he knows how to fix it. And we've seen him do that, Brother Billy, countless times. And, I mean, just a service with no more than, 7 people here tonight? A service of 7 people who full of faith, full of God. How is every disease in Tipton County can be healed if it's God's will? And it's just a matter of having faith and believing that way. Brother Billy, would you take these needs to the Lord in prayer tonight?
And Lord, sometimes we turn to you last, and we should turn to you first. So that I ask that you'll watch over all these needs, and that you'll meet the needs that have been brought to your throne. I pray that you'll pour your spirit out on this service tonight, and that you'll anoint Pastor Kim.
Yes.
In his name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Just got a collection of thoughts, got an old message, and I'm going to try to put it all together and hopefully make some sense. But how many's here tonight, and you are here because you've been encouraged by somebody else's faith? Somebody else's faith can't get you to heaven, but somebody else's faith can point you towards heaven. Am I right about that? Somebody else's faith can help. It's been encouraged by somebody else's faith. How can that person go through, have a smile on their face? How can they have a pep in their step? How can they have joy? And you know they're going through hard and difficult times and trying times. And they ask you to do this, trusting God. Go ahead, Brother Billy. This is for all of us tonight. Go ahead.
Well, I know you've got a message, but it's kind of Bible study too.
It is. You're right.
But I can remember one of the first times that happened. And, well, you know, North Memphis, somewhere where I was raised around Port of Lee, it wasn't a prosperous part of town like that. It was a rough and tumble area, but, yeah, I mean, Sister Wilmore, she taught Sunday school, and at the time we had a boys' class, and we were old-fashioned before everybody had to get books. And I can remember she just always struggled, just barely seemed to have enough, and you know, and I was like, you know, why is she doing that, you know? And that was the explanation that the little boy got.
But you probably look back at her now, do the same kind of thing, and her faith has inspired you. It's encouraged you to just, hey, if she can do this, and I got the same God she's got. Go ahead.
And I've got some struggles, but I'm sure I'm going through it at a lot more relative Christian comfort than Sister Wilmore.
Yeah.
Sister Van Owen, but it seemed like they had something
No, like I said, this is everybody. I want everybody to input tonight because I don't really have that much myself. If you think about it, Smith Wigglesworth was a man of faith. I mean, he saw people in his meetings, Sister Ruth Ann, you and Brother Atkinson probably read about him. In meetings, people would come with all kinds of diseases, and they would come into that service, and they would leave healed. Now, he had to have faith on those people's part, but it had to be faith on Smith Wigglesworth's part too. And somebody in one of the things I read about him, they said, how could this man be a person of faith? Because in his day, in his time, he didn't have all the distractions. He said he had one book he read, and that was the Bible. Didn't have the TV, news, and everything we have to deal with today, and all the noise that's in the world today. He was just solely focused on God.
Maybe that's some of our problem.
We let too much noise in.
We let too much noise in.
I'm still standing here today, 34 years, because of faith in other people. And if I know that God got them through, and I've seen what they go through, but their faith inspired me to keep going. Cindy, one person in our walk, who's inspired you the most? Whose faith has inspired you the most? Yeah. Because I've seen her countless times stand up when she didn't feel like me and her load that tray. Really touched thousands. I'll be glad. I'll be lucky to touch 2 or 3, but she literally touched thousands. But she had enough faith that I seen her. I'm going to tell you, for all that equipment we carried, didn't have the strength. She did it. Stand up, and when she stood up, glory to God. Even everything in her body was hurting from head to toe. The last service we went to in Bolivar, lift her arm. Just how used. But she still drove 60 miles to minister to somebody, that somebody gets saved. Because all she wanted to do was to see somebody saved that day. She had to keep going because she knew that, Brother Billy, as you said about the lady you talked about, she knew that heaven was going to be her home. She stood one night, either on this side or on this side, I'm going to be all right. Don't you cry for me. But that faith, as Cindy said, the police had faith. Just Ruth Ann, I know that you don't talk a lot, but just one person who's inspired you in your walk. Well, just some of the people, Sister Ruth Ann, that's really inspired you. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned her. Ain't it funny how you are drawn to people? How many people have felt that? You're just drawn to people of faith. Cindy and I went to we preached there 7, 8 times during that time before y'all came. And just something drew me to her. She said, if I remember right, she sat on the back pew on this side by the door. And out of all the people there, there was a lady that stood up front of it, name now, that stood up front. Faith inspired me, but especially Sister Kay. Say much, but you could tell by looking at that lady, that was a lady of God. And I don't think that I'm wrong. I didn't know her, but that was a lady, just from what I could tell. Because the Bible tells us that our spirit will bear witness. If you're a person of faith and you meet somebody else that's a person of faith, Brother Bill, I think our spirit will bear witness. And just something about her, it inspired me. I didn't know her. I've never met her before. Just seeing her and knowing, you could look on her face, knowing that she had been through some things, difficult times, but still, her faith inspired me. Sister Gene Johnson, his faith inspired me. Brother Cecil Lawrence, he had 25% use of his heart. His heart literally blew up. I mean, he was supposed to be alive. But Brother Cecil didn't complain. He didn't moan. He didn't groan. Even had to take care of his wife who had Alzheimer's. He didn't complain then, did he? But he had a love for God. And he had a faith in God that was unshakable. And that inspired me. So while I'm still here today, Brother Billy, as you said, that lady is people like that.
people treated us, I just never was as good as everybody else. We were literally, people looked at us like we were white trash, because the way my daddy did. And I just didn't think I was ever quite good enough. And then God will put people in your way that will help you when you need help and encourage you when you need encouragement. And like you said, Pastor, you'll bear witness to them. I
Yeah.
think God does this, like, no, you need to spend the time with this person here. They're gonna help you get through some of your insecurities
Yeah.
or whatever. And Pastor Finley taught me so much, you know, and when I got saved, and I know he was preaching up there at Kearville, trying to help them out. And his heart had been, his doctor told him, said, you know, he used to tell this every once in a while when he would get to preaching and say, whatever his doctor's name was, said, Philly, I don't know how you still going. Said, your heart, said, it was shot 10 years ago. You all did it. And he said, I'm just telling you, God ain't ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what keeps me going. And I went up there that Sunday just to tell him, not to start one person, that I had gotten saved. Because he used to tell me, and he'd talk to me, and instead of just berating me, he'd say, my son, he said, I come from the same kind of background you did. And you know it ain't nothing out there for you. He said, you need to know things like the Lord. And I said, I know that. And I was like, I respected him enough. I wanted to go down there and tell him that I had gotten saved. And I did, and he said, well, I knew you would, you know, just kind of, and I went to church there, and all Sunday school was up here.
Yeah.
But it's just the way he would, if I had doubts, and when I went to talk to him, it's like, I'm talking the same kind of guy. He was cut out of an older end of that boulder cloth.
Yeah.
And I was cut out of it, and when they got rolled it on out, Preacher Dan got cut out of it. So I've had men of God put in my life
Yeah.
that I could just talk frankly to, and they didn't like, you know, you did that, or you thought about that, or you had a temper tantrum, because they, you know, it's like he told me, Pastor Tim, and I'm not trying to take this service over or away from you, but God puts, it's like Sister Ruth Ann said, several people God put
Yeah.
in my life, and sometimes I get excited about this thing. You know, he said, Billy, he said, some people get saved right off the pew at 6 years. He said, I don't doubt that. He said, but they've been saved all their life. He said, they know it's bad things out there, but they never experienced it. He said, but people like me and you, we were saved from it. We got along well in it, and we really didn't want to be ripped out of it. There was something else stronger pulling us.
Amen.
He said, they hadn't said, some people ain't never been saved from nothing. They don't have the same kind of struggle that me and you will have. But we got somebody to help us get through.
Amen.
Yeah, and I needed somebody like that in my life to explain it, because, you know, and you may have heard me tell the story, you know, I still, some of those things I did, I still wanted to do, and I'm not gonna say some of them thoughts don't back. He would get preaching, he would talk about that, and he said, no, I'm gonna be honest with you, I said, sometimes you still, when I first started, that right through my mind while I was preaching, it'd be a cold can of sweet spirit, you know, like, my mind would click dead, and I'm like, well, I just threw that Budweiser out of my brain yesterday.
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, you know, and I talked to him about it one time. I said, Pastor Finley, I said, I know God can do it. I know, I said, you know, we were sitting in the table down in the hall, I said, if he wanted to do something, if he wanted to make this thing into something wild, I said, I know he could do it. I said, he said, yeah. I said, when them people go down and they testify, you know, I smoked cigarettes for 15 years, and I went to the altar and I laid them down on it, and I got up and I had one cig. I said, I believe, you know, I know God can do it. He said, well, I was a heroin addict for all my adult life. I went down there and laid that stuff down at the altar, and I got up and I hadn't wanted no more. I said, I believe it. I said, and I'd go down there and pray about wanting a beer. He said, I still got up. I was thirsty, wasn't you? I said, yes, I was. You know, and I knew then that, like, well, okay, other people that are Christians have some of these thoughts. He said, that don't mean you're gonna go out and get one. He said, but some people it's just hard. And that's when he gave me that, some people have never been saved from anything, and you have. He said, but when these things cross your mind,
That's what makes the church work. The name of the message up here is to be encouraged. And it talks about in Romans 12:1 that we're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. And because we're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, my sister Kate, Pastor Finley, my sister lady, my sister Clarice, and Brother Cecil, and all those people have been a blessing to me in my life. Because I surround myself with them. When it gets tired, I can run this race with patience, and I can get through. Because I've been encouraged by their walk. I've been encouraged by how they live. That's why the church, I think the church is one thing today, the people are not what they're talking. And the people, the world is looking for something now. And I'm going to preach it Sunday morning, and we'll do a whole lot better job Sunday morning than I'm going to do tonight. But look no further than Jesus. Stop looking here, stop looking there, and get your eyes fixed on Christ. But be encouraged. And the church needs to be that encouraging thing. If there's one place that needs to be encouraging today, Sister Ruth Ann, it's the church. If there's one place the church, the people needs to see faith, it's the church. But I think if you look at churches today, all you're seeing is doubt. And all you see is a bunch of people just pouting. Look like they're mad at the world. That's not God. The church is supposed to be a house of faith where brothers and sisters are like-minded. Sister Kate, the ladies you mentioned, and all these people that we could call name after name after name, come together as one body and exemplify Christ. Because Christ said if we had a faith of a mustard seed, we can speak to the mountains. And how does he said that 2,000 years ago, but how does that mountain-moving faith is still available to us today? But
And there was a ton of kids here that first year, you know.
Amen.
And I think that's when Brother Tommy asked Sister Cindy, said, Sister, you know anything about making moonshine whiskey? The look on her face, she said, well, no, I don't. But, you know, and now, you know, doing this thing, you know, those monthly, you know, we're gonna give snacks to the first responders. I think that's wonderful. And these food box things we do and giving them out, okay? It's February, and we know people out there need it, and we're doing something to help them, and they know. I think it's wonderful. I think that's where the church has been falling short for a while. I think you're doing a wonderful job encouraging those kind of things and getting them going. I think that's the church's job. It's supposed to be more active in the community. It's not just active when we come inside for a while. I mean, I think you're doing a good job.
I think one thing this year that I thought we would do, and it's what we're going to have to do, is we've got to take care of each other. I mean, there's going to be days just where that you're not going to want to get through the day. You're going to need somebody to help you get through the day. If you can't depend on somebody sitting beside you in church to get you through the day, if you can't depend on your church family, because it's what we're here for. Sheila, one person that inspired you in the faith.
Mama.
Anybody? I know you got a list of them.
Yeah. I like to look, well, like Sister Kate, I like the older people that,
I
even
do
your
too.
mama, okay? She inspires me every time because she always wants a hug, she always tells me she loves me, she always is so smiling, always
Well,
You
now,
know, happy people. We should be happy people.
well,
I mean,
I'm 62 now, so I'm not young anymore. So if you want to say 62 is old, but Cindy will tell you, since we've been in this, if we went into a place, I want to be around somebody older, especially if we go into a church. Give me Sister Kate, somebody older. Just let me go sit and listen to them talk. I don't do well with preaching. I just don't. But you get me into some place that's somebody who's lived, that I know that it's that they've lived, and you can see that exhibited every day through them, and that's what the church is supposed to be. When people look at me, they should see faith. I'm glad. I probably fail miserably sometimes, but they should see faith.
I say this too. My daughter, Mary Grace, really, really helped me a lot with what all she went through. She always would say she knew God was going to help her.
Amen.
And, you know, and I was so proud that I could always look at that even when I had my doubts. You know, I can't let her think, I'm thinking God's not going to help this situation, you know. And, it just, you can learn from your kids too.
And Sister Betty, who's inspired?
One person would be my dad. Yes. You could always know if you had a problem, you call him, and he'd say, we pray, you know, God's gonna take care of it. And you knew, when he told you that, he was gonna do it, and that it's gonna be okay, you know? That would inspire me to know that, but there's times you think, you can call him now, but you remember the memories, you know, that helps a lot too, you know, to think about. Maybe they're being inspired by him.
Sister Brenda?
One thing I used to go to church with a long time ago, her name was Shirley. She helped me a lot.
Cindy don't say a lot neither. We probably ain't heard her say 100 words, but she's a lady of faith. I go home and I cry to her. She'll tell you, I look like a baby sometimes. Oh, look what we're going to do. But if I've gotten any friend in ministry, it's because of her, because she knew I was called before I accepted it. I mean, I fought her for 15 years. 15 years she's been telling me you should be doing it. So
She gives you respect,
yes, she does. Makes me, if it's possible, she makes me look a lot better. But she, I don't deserve her. But
just in case you don't realize that won't forget you.
But she's, Christ is my rock. But how much Christ gives us rocks here. And that lady you talked about, Pastor Finley, Daniel, and Sister Randy, your husband, your dad, and that lady, and the one that Sheila mentioned, and the people that I mentioned, they was my rock.
You know, Pastor, I think God will send us people right when we need them to give us, every one of us needs that little bit of encouragement.
Yeah.
In their life. Yeah, if I wanted to, I could have gotten down today as I was kidding. Saying, it's like, no, I'm trying to do everything they say, I'm trying to serve them. What's the deal? Why am I, why am I doing all the right things and getting worse instead of fine? And I don't mean to sound all four-rounded, but I could have gotten down, and Amanda has taken me under her wing since I got sick. That's like that day, and Daniel still laughs about it, when I said, well, I'm really back tonight after I had that brain surgery. He said, we'll see. I said, we'll see, I'm the parent. And, but if, living by myself, I had, I think God has gotten her to step up. I know we've certainly gotten closer since I had that brain surgery and all that stuff. She checks with me, and every day on the way home from work, I know I'm gonna get called by her. I'm talking too much, I'm gonna shut it off.
No.
But God is, he's changed that relationship, and it's not that she's not my caregiver or anything. I encourage her at this point in time.
Yeah.